Hello, my name is Jacqueline Twillie. Thank you for joining me on today's webinar. Today is Equal Pay Day 2018. It's one of the many equal pay days. We'll talk about that in just a second. But just to start off with, I'm on a mission to eliminate the gender wage gap. I'm the founder of Zero Gap, a training and development company for women who work in male-dominated industries, which is almost every industry. And I came to this issue of working with the wage gap to really make some waves in closing the gap between men and women's earnings. Now, there are multiple factors that contribute to the wage gap, but one of the reasons is that women don't ask when they receive an offer. According to a Labor League study, 60% of women said they did not negotiate the current salary at their job. That is just mind-blowing. Another stat is that women, we tend to think equal pay day in April as 80 cents on a dollar of what all women earn compared to their non-Hispanic white male counterparts. That's just not true. In reality, Latino women earn 58 cents on a dollar. Native American women earn about 54 cents on a dollar. Black women earn 65 cents. White women 80 cents, and Asian women about 88 cents on the dollar. So as you can see, the wage gap is quite pervasive. So what I'm going to teach you over the next hour is strategies to help you negotiate when you receive an offer. And the goal isn't to get a good deal. The goal is to get the very best deal. So when I was early in my career, a young professional, I remember going on job interviews and I got a call. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was sitting in my Jeep Liberty in front of the leasing office at my apartment complex. I recognized the number and I picked up the phone. And at that moment, when I picked up the phone, we exchanged pleasantries and I received a job offer. Well, I was so excited that internally I started screaming, "Oh my God, thank you for picking me and giving me a job." Well, guess what? It wasn't that I was just screaming, "Oh my God, thank you for picking me and giving me a job." I paused, and that's a negotiation strategy, but it wasn't the strategy I was using. I was just so excited. So a few seconds later, the guy on the other end says, "Hey, are you there?" And I said, "Yes, I'll take it." Boom. Just like that, I had given away all of my negotiating power. I accepted a job without even asking if there was more for me to receive. So, as I said, equal pay day is this concept of labor rights, individuals, that the equal pay should be given in the workplace. And I firmly believe that. It's not a myth, it's facts, and you can look at many data points to see that. So don't ever wing it in negotiations. If you do, you will be leaving money on the table. These next 7 steps that we're going to cover is going to help you to set yourself up to get the very best deal. So preparation is your first step. In any negotiation, you want to gain as much information as possible, because in business and in life, information is power. The more information you have, the better informed decisions you can make. Now, let's just imagine that you receive a job offer, and when you receive that offer, you don't know what's a good deal and what's a great deal. Well, the thing that can bridge the gap in that understanding is having more information. So a couple of things that you should consider before you negotiate is understand what the market rate is. Now, a market rate is what people earn in your industry, in your geographic area, with your experience level. That's what people get paid for, the title or position that is out there. It varies city by city, even within a company. So a couple of places to start learning about the market rate is online data resources. There are a ton. If you Google salary data in your city, or even Google the title position you have, for instance, copywriter in Miami, Florida, is going to bring up the salary information. Now, that's a good starting point, but don't stop there, because of a lot of the online websites receive self-reported data and they don't disclose the time frame in which that data was released, okay? So use that as a base starting point, but then go to people in your professional network, people within your industry, and talk to them about the wage, okay? You can't roll up to someone and say, "Hey, Terry, how much money do you make? Socially, that is just not acceptable, and I don't think you would get a warm response. So instead, you can say something like, hi, Terry. How you doing today? Always exchange pleasantries. I firmly believe in building rapport. But then say, Terry, I'm thinking about testing the market, and based on what I'm looking at online, I should be seeking to expect somewhere around $79,000. What do you think about that? Well, what Terry is going to say is, that sounds about right, or that's kind of high, or that's a little bit low for your experience level. Talk to at least 3 people, and not just people in your peer group, preferably people who have been in the industry a little bit longer so they'll have greater insight, okay? I know for a fact that women get paid less than men. So your 3 people should not be all women. Preferably, you want to speak with a white male because we know they earn more than everyone else in the professional workplace. Now, in addition to you doing the research and getting the salary data, you want to gather as many other facts related to salary. So if you're looking at a specific company, actually talk to people who work within that company or who have previously worked there and find out what other perks are generally presented during the time of the offer. Now, you have the most negotiating leverage when you receive a new job offer. You can negotiate at the time of a performance review or right after a major win at work, but generally speaking, you're going to get the most when you're first entering a company. So you want to spend a significant amount of time doing your research, finding out not only the culture of the company, but also the total compensation package that they offer. Now, you want to know what's important to the other party. What I mean by that is, what skills do you bring to the table that this company needs? They're interviewing you for a reason. You have something that they want. You can get the job done. So find out the pain points. How long has the position been open? Was someone in this position before? Is this a newly created position? So all of that information that you gather is going to help you build a stronger case for you to receive the very best market rate for the work that you're doing, as well as a total compensation package. Now, understand the value that you bring to the table. That's hand in hand with number 2, okay? The value that you add to the organization, you're not just a butt in a seat. You're actually going to be delivering extreme value based on the work. So you not only want to do your job well, you want to exceed expectations in many areas. What is that going to take? What does that look like for the company? Those are some of the questions that you can ask throughout the interview process so that you're setting yourself up for not only a successful negotiation, but being successful in that role long term. Now, at the end of this, I'm going to share information on how you can link up with me if you have any questions. Also, we will share the slides with you. Another point that I want to bring up is, throughout the entire interview process as well as negotiating process, practice active listening. What that means is you want to listen for what's being said as well as what isn't being said. Because again, you're gaining insight, and information is power. The more you know, the stronger case you can build, and you'll be able to decide what's a good deal versus what's a great deal. I want to share with you a quick story. There's a popular TV show, Blackish. And on that show, the mother is seeking the teenage daughter to open up and bond with her. But the teenage daughter is a typical teenage daughter, and she just wants to hang out with her friends and have fun. She's not interested in oversharing with her mother. So one day, the teen goes to the mother, and she says, "Mom, this happened at school." And the mother is so excited. She starts saying, "Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. This is my moment. We're bonding. My daughter is awesome. I'm so awesome. We're having this mother-daughter experience." And she is just blown away with excitement. And then her daughter says, "Mom, so what do you think?" And the mother didn't hear a word she said because she was so busy in her own head. Just take a second and pause. How many times have you done the same thing? How many times have you gotten so caught up in your own head that you fail to hear what the other person said? Maybe not in negotiations, but just in everyday conversations. So what I'd like to encourage you to do is start active listening. Start trying to hear what the other person says without thinking about what you're going to cook for dinner or what you're going to wear on vacation, etc., etc. When a person speaks, look them in the eye, okay? Because eye contact is one way that you can engage with a person and really participate in active listening. Another thing that you can do is try to picture what they're saying in your mind. When you visualize it, that's just one tool to help you participate in active listening. Now, it's not a one-size-fits-all, so try multiple things, but I want you to figure out what is the key to you actually listening actively so that you can better understand what's being presented to you. Another important point is in negotiations, you have to be willing to walk away. Okay, if you are putting all of your eggs in one basket and you're not going to walk away, you don't have any leverage. You don't have any other options. So in technical negotiation language, there's a term called BATNA, B-A-T-N-A. That stands for a best alternative to a negotiated agreement. So before you negotiate anything, think very thoroughly about what your alternatives are. What are your other options if you do not accept this deal? Being clear on what those are helps you to set your walkaway point. At this point, I will have to walk away because it's not that beneficial to me, okay? So normally when you're looking at your BATNA, this is going to also fit in with your preparation phase where you're going to deep dive and understand what is it going to take for me to get a great deal, what's it going to take for me to get a good deal, and what is considered a quote-unquote bad deal, at which point it will not be worth it for me to accept and I will have to walk away. And then think about outside of the box, okay? When you want to receive something, in negotiations, don't get so laser focused on what you want that you think that you can only get there in one way. There are multiple ways to achieve what you want. So I'll tell you a little corny story and it's very quick. There were two sisters in a kitchen fussing over an orange and they got really animated and heated. Well, one sister wanted the orange for a recipe. The other sister wanted it for a recipe. At the end of the day, they realized they needed to get cooking. They cut the orange in half. All right. When they cut the orange in half, one sister used the orange, the inside of the juice, for her famous orange juice. The other sister used the outside of the orange, the zest, for her famous orange scones. Well, if they had taken a second to really understand the needs of each other and then think creatively, they would have realized that a win-win in this case wasn't to cut the orange in half. It was for one sister to have the outside of the orange and for the inside. I share that story with you so that you can understand there is more than one way to get what you want. So be flexible in your approach when you're focused on the overall outcomes. And likewise, just with the story I just shared, you want to look for ways to add additional value. So in the workplace, if you have a certain skill set and through that opening dialogue with the employer, you've learned that they are having a big initiative and they want all of their employees to have a certain skill set and everyone will have to be trained up to that skill set, but you already have that. So in addition to the job that you're interviewing for, you can discuss how you have leveraged your current skill and how you can also teach that to your peers in the new workplace should you be hired. So just think creatively of ways that you can add value. Always look for ways to add value. So we've touched on this briefly, but you want to listen more than you speak. You spend a lot of time preparing for negotiations about what you're going to say and how you're going to say it, but a lot of people fail to participate in that active listening. So it's not all about what you say or what the other party says. Sometimes the most valuable information that you're going to receive is what isn't being said. And you want to use that information to be creative so that you do get a great deal. So let me give you an example of what that looks like. If in the process of the interview, you learned that they're starting a new department, you're interviewing for a position in this new department, and they've listed the other positions that they're hiring for, that will be your counterpart. Well, you notice that they don't mention one position that's critical to the overall success of a machine running well. And you know this because you've done your research and you know the industry well. that would be a good opportunity for you to, one, add value, suggesting that skill set that you do have, or suggesting that they hire a person to fill that gap if the bandwidth is going to be too much for you. Okay, so it's not all about what's being said, it's what isn't said sometimes. And again, you really have to participate in active listening. Now, when you go to a negotiation table, you have goals and interests, and the other person has goals and interests. What you want to do is you want to be in that sweet spot, okay? You want to get to a point where that zone, in technical negotiation language, I'm going to throw another technical term at you right now, that's called a ZOPA, the zone of potential agreement. So always be looking for ways, and this is one of the things that you do when you participate in active listening, you're looking for additional ways to create agreement for you to both get what you want. Now in negotiations, especially when you're talking about career and business negotiations, this isn't a one-time transaction. You're building a long-term relationship. So you want to think, how can I walk away from this negotiation with the other person saying, I like doing business with her. I'm going to do business with her again. What you don't want to happen is to go into a negotiation and walk out of it with the other person saying, man, that was horrible. I never want to work with that person again, because you don't want to get blackballed and you don't want to set yourself up so that you're not receiving the buy-in and support to be successful in a job. So throughout any negotiation, always look for those areas of where you agree. There's going to be glaring areas where you disagree because you're seeing it from your perspective, but put yourself in the other person's shoes. When you put yourself in the other person's shoes, you're able to slow down for a second and understand what's important to them, but then tie it all in together. So, step 3 is understand your goals. Women who set high aspirational goals in negotiations tend to get more of what they want. So when you're looking at a job range and you see that a job range varies greatly, most of the time it varies about $10,000 to $20,000, depending on your industry. You definitely want to receive the higher end of the range. A lot of the clients that I've worked with in the past, they think, oh, this is just the amount of money I need to make it. So they're going to go for the low end of the range. They don't want to seem greedy and they don't want to seem pushy. But this is about business, and this is about you earning your full amount. You want the very best deal, again, not just a deal. And this is even for those of you who are freelancers and you're negotiating with a client. What you really want to focus on is the high end of your goal. So if you're looking at a range, aim for the higher end of the range. You might land somewhere in the middle. Now, it's very important here when I talk about high aspirational goals that you don't overshoot what is standard for the industry. You don't want to come up with a number that is so high and so bizarre that it's totally unrealistic for the industry, for your work experience, or for the market, okay? So make sure that you're staying within the market rate, but you're going towards the higher end of that rate. The other thing is you're looking for common areas of agreement so that you can both get what you want. So your goals are critically important. One of the things that I suggest that you do is make a list of all the things that you would like from this job, whether it's career advancement, mentorship, access to professional associations, and having the company pay for those association fees. All of those things are very important. It could be equipment and tools to do your job. Make a list of everything that you want, okay? But also don't get so focused on that you fail to realize that the employer is adding value in significant ways. Now, the other thing is speak to your experience and why you're the right person for the job. Refer back to the value you can add so that this can result in a great deal. So when we're talking about our goals and your value, again, the company is hiring you because you have a specific skill set that can add value and help them reach their goals. What you want to do is keep that at the forefront of the conversation. Don't get caught up in just the salary or the title of the position. You want to look at the overall position. Now, in terms of salary, you do want to get the very best salary that you can, not just a good salary or an okay salary. But when you're talking about your value, you want to base what you're earning, not on feelings, on facts. And that fact is based on the value that you add. So a lot of times women discount their value without realizing it. What happens is, think about when you receive compliments most often and what that's in reference to. A lot of times women will say, oh, that's no big deal. You don't have to thank me. I can do that in my sleep. Oh, that was so easy. I mean, have you ever said anything like that? When you make statements like that, you're discounting your value and you're giving others permission to do the same. So instead, use value increasing words such as thank you. That's it. Or you can say something like, I appreciate you recognizing my hard work. Or you can say something like, I pride myself on doing that well. Thanks for recognizing it. I mean, there's, like I said before, there's no one size fits all. So find the term that you want to use and actually start practicing that. It's kind of like that commercial, Sorry Not Sorry, where women are apologizing for things they didn't even do wrong, and then they catch themselves and they still might say sorry, but then they pull back and say not sorry. It's a funny commercial. Look it up on YouTube, but it underscores an important point. When you're talking about your value and when you're transitioning from phrases where, oh, no big deal, I can do that in my sleep, to thank you very much, I pride myself on doing this well, you might have to catch yourselves a couple of times, and it's okay. Do not be hard on yourself. The important thing is to recognize that you do add value and to start claiming the value that you add instead of discounting it. Always go into meetings and negotiations with a positive attitude. Tell yourself you're going to make this the best possible deal for all parties. That's a quote by Natalie Masseret. She's the founder of Net-A-Porter. That's one of the quotes that I absolutely love and live by, because at the end of the day, this is a small world. Relationships matter, and people do business with people they like. So it's important, even if you have some information where you can get the upper hand and squeeze more out of the other person, you don't want to squeeze them. You want them to feel like they're getting a good deal. So let's talk about the confidence factor, which is number 4. When you look and sound confident, others will take you seriously. So you want to practice. One of the things that's going to bring your confidence level up is having that knowledge, but the other thing is speaking confidently. When you are preparing for an offer, if you've never said $140,000 before in terms of your salary expectation, you might sound a little something like this. $140,000? And who's going to take you seriously if you sound like that? If you're looking everywhere but directly in the person's eye. Instead, you really want to sound like this. Yes, the salary that I'm expecting is $140,000 based on my market research and the job description. So in that point, you sounded much more confident the second time than the first time. The way that you get there, now some people laugh and giggle the first time they say it. Some people laugh quite a lot. And your body language is an important part of your confidence factor. So what I recommend is practicing aloud what you're going to say in the negotiation, not just a number that you're expecting, but go ahead and role play with a friend. Pull out your cell phone. One of the things that I recommend is using a cell phone to record your audio and visual. You want to be aware of your body language, whether you're in person or on the phone, because that projects through your voice. When your shoulders are back and your chest is out, your diaphragm expands and you sound more confident, okay? So go ahead, practice what you think the other person is going to say as well as your response to them in a negotiation. When you do that, one of the things that you'll recognize is you think you sound one way in your head, but you actually sound a different way. When you listen to yourself on the recording and you watch your body language and you hear how you project yourself, you're able to make adjustments. Now, for some people, you might need to do 2 or 3 versions of this. For other people, you might need to do it 10 times. Y'all, this can be one of the most nerve-wracking things. I will tell you for a fact, I do this. And when I started doing it, I would have to listen to the audio in the bed with the sheets pulled all over my head because it was uncomfortable for me to hear my voice. But you have to get comfortable hearing your voice so that you can project confidently. Now, the other thing in the confidence factor is you want to wear something that makes you look like you're in control. That's something different for all of us. Everyone has a different style and a different wardrobe. All I'm saying here is make sure that you look your best, because when you look good, you feel good, you're going to sound good, you're going to sound confident, and people will take you seriously. Personally, when I go into a high stakes negotiation, I always have on a killer pair of heels. I love pumps, so I'll make sure I have a great pair of pumps. Depending on the day, I might wear a suit, I might wear a dress, I might wear pants. That part doesn't matter. The other thing that I do is I have a playlist of hype music. So I have a little Beyonce, a little Alicia Keys, Amanda Brown. I listen to music that gets me in my zone. And when I walk in like I own the room. And I'm looking for areas of agreement so that at the end of the negotiation, I'm walking away saying, this is a good deal for me and you. So let's talk about emotions for a second, because this is something that I've often heard people say, leave your emotions at the door. But you definitely want to have your emotional intelligence skills on 10 when you walk into any deal. Again, the goal is for you to get the very best deal, not just to get a deal or to get a good deal. So, a couple of things that I want to bring up. If you have a lack of awareness of emotional intelligence, it can cause you to be distracted from the core issues. It can manipulate your decisions. What I mean by that is manipulating your decisions is you get caught up in your feelings and emotions and you take your focus off. So instead of acting based on the facts, you're acting based on how you feel. And a lack of emotional awareness, overall, what it causes you to do is lose focus on what you're at the table to do, and that's to negotiate a great deal. Now, when you go in with a high sense of awareness of emotions, you can gain insight into what's important to the other person. So when they get really passionate and they lean in and they talk to you like this, or versus if they're talking to you and they're looking away, they're looking at their phone, they're actually looking out the window, daydreaming, or they're, looking down the hallway, you're able to see that and you can reshift and refocus. One of the things that I do in negotiations when things are getting off the rails, when I notice that someone is drifting a little bit, what I'll tend to do is I'll pause for a break if we're face to face. I always carry a tall bottle of water with me in any meeting, and I just take sips throughout. Now, early in my career, I used to be a crier. So this is not really wise for any part of business, but especially in negotiations. No one takes you seriously if the floodgates open anytime you get emotional. That's what used to happen to me. So I had to figure out a way to stop letting myself cry. So I noticed when I would start welling up, my throat would get a little bit tight, my eyes would water a little, I started sipping water. As I would sip water, what I was able to do was calm myself down. Now, if I felt that it was about to come out, I would excuse myself and go to the restroom and collect myself. Now, in negotiations, excusing yourself and going to the restroom, whether you're about to cry or not, is a good strategy. It gives each party a chance to focus and reset. Going to lunch, coming back later, or reconvening the next day. It all depends on your specific situation, but if you can take a break and breathe and not rush the process, take the time that you need so that you can get yourself together, it can be advantageous to you. And also, having an awareness of emotions can help you set expectations and set the tone. Okay, a lot of women get talked over in meetings, in negotiations, and when you go in and you have that awareness of the other person's emotions and as well as their personality type, you're better able to gauge them. So I want to give you a reference point here. There are two books that I'd like you to check out. One is Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman. If you go to Amazon or Google, the book will come up, okay? The other thing that I would like you to check out is Amy Cuddy's book. Amy Amy, A-M-Y, Cuddy, C-U-D-D-Y. Presence is the name of her book. Amy has this great TED Talk on power poses, and those two things go hand in hand. So I want you to definitely check out the Daniel Goleman book as well as the Amy Cuddy book. Those will help you increase your emotional intelligence. Over the next couple of days, when you're in just regular meetings, one of the things that I would encourage you to do is be aware of your own emotions. Notice what gets you fired up, but don't just stop, when you get fired up and you recognize, oh, I'm really passionate about this. Actually take a step back and say, why do I feel this way? Similarly, when you're talking to other people and you notice when they get fired up or riled up, try to recognize that moment and then try to understand what led them to that moment based on what you discussed. Now, I'm not saying psychoanalyze anyone, but I just want you to be more aware of those emotions, especially in yourself. So step number 6, the ask. Now, this is most important. When you have the opportunity to negotiate, don't do as I did. Don't leave any money on the table. Actually go in and negotiate. A couple of things that I want you to remember. You have to aim high. Research shows us that women who have high aspirational goals in negotiation get more of what they want. I cannot stress that enough. You want to be realistic, but you also want to stretch for the high end of the range because that is the way for you to get the very best deal. You will only know what the high end of the range is if you've done your research. So again, start with the online tools, but follow that up with talking to at least 3 people in a professional association or people with very good insight into the industry. The other thing that you want to do is express confidence that you can do the job well, and you expect to be compensated at market rate. So with this, expressing that you're confident, it goes back to the confidence factor. It goes back to listening so that you can discuss ways of adding value and talking about the market rate. The market rate is a good point for you to remember. This is about the facts. This isn't about what you need to pay off your student loans or to pay your mortgage or your rent or car payment, anything like that. This is strictly what the market pays for someone in your industry with your experience in your geographic area. So make sure you have those data points available when you go in to ask. So this is a good point for us to discuss. Should I give my number first or should I wait for them? Well, in most states, it is still legal for an employer to ask you your previous salary history. So what that means is when you apply for a job, there's going to be a box with a red asterisk that says you're required to disclose that. Now, some states are really moving the needle. They've made that question illegal because what happens is when a person actually is paid less in a job and they move to their next job and you're basing that off of what they earned instead of the market rate, it perpetuates a cycle of a wage gap, okay? So it's really important for you to do that research up front so you can understand what the market rate is so that you can get the what? The very best deal. Okay, so should you give your number first? If you have done your research and you're confident, you most definitely can present your number first. You can say, based on my research, this is what I found. Now, you're going to put that number in the online application box. You might get a phone call as a phone screen, the first step in that process. In that first step of the process, when you're doing the phone screen, sometimes the recruiter or the HR professional that you're talking to, they're going to ask you, so what are your salary expectations? If you don't have many details of the position at that moment, and you cannot come up with the market rate because the job description was so vague, you don't really understand what it is, you can say, I'm really excited to learn more about this position. The job description didn't really give me the level of insight for me to be able to give you my salary expectations. Can you share more about the position? And so what you did is you actually dodged the question. You turned the tables. Hey, I need to learn a little bit more about this. But hey, if the job description was very detailed and you have a level of understanding, you can give that number up front. Now, with that being said, if you go through the interview process and you realize at some point the job description that was posted and the actual work that I'm going to be doing is vastly different, and the market rate for the position that I'm going to be doing is actually higher than what I discussed my salary expectations are, I can go in and say, you know, at the beginning of this process, I stated that this was my salary expectation. However, based on the information that I've learned throughout the interview process, this position is more in line with, and you throw out the title, and that market rate is, and you give the number, and then you pause. Okay, so really important for you to deep dive and do that research. I mean, if this is the difference between $5,000 and $10,000, it's worth the 1 or 3 hours that it's going to take you to do the research, to talk to those people in your network. This is a good point for me to pause and say, if you're leveraging people in your network to gather market data, be sure to thank them with a handwritten stationery thank you note, drop it in the mail. Networks matter, relationships matter, and so you always want to show your appreciation to people for giving you that level of insight. Number 7, decide. Now this one is where most people get a little bit nerve wrecked, okay? In this point, when you receive a verbal offer, express your enthusiasm and excitement for the role. I'm very honored and excited that you've chosen me and you want to move forward with the process. I'm more than confident that I can do the job. That's something you can say. But you want to follow that up with a question surrounding when you're going to receive that written offer. Okay, it's very important that you receive the offer in writing. People with great intentions can sometimes leave off important details based on basic clerical errors. If it's not in writing, it didn't happen, y'all. So you have to make sure that everything you agree to verbally is in a written offer letter. People leave jobs for a variety of reasons. And if you don't have it in writing, guess what? It didn't happen. Even if the person stays there, you can't back up that this is something that was promised to you if it's not in your written offer letter. So if you receive your written offer letter and some of the details are not listed there, just give a quick phone call and say, hey, I'm reviewing the offer letter. I noticed XYZ is missing. I'm sure that's a clerical error. Can someone update that and send it to me? At this point, you want to use language that's inclusive throughout the entire process. Talk about we and us, because research shows that when women use inclusive language, they're more likely to get what they want. So when you present, I'm going to go back one slide. When you present your ask, present it in the terms of this is what's in it for the team, what's in it for us, what's in it for the organization. I want to share a story with you about an ask that I did when I was in the traditional workforce. It was around my performance review time. I was working for the federal government, and during this time, I had received the Employee of the Month out of a global division of nearly 200 people. Again, this is people who work all over the world. During the government shutdown several years ago, I was considered essential personnel, and that means I had to go to work when other people were not allowed to because the government had shut down. And in addition to that, in the area that I lived in, they were not equipped for snow, and it snowed for several days, and I was required to work from home. Well, during those work from home days, my supervisor said, oh my goodness, you really got a lot done. So at the time of my performance review, I presented to her that, hey, you know, I appreciate you recognizing the hard work that I've been doing, receiving this award. In addition to the award, I had to work during the shutdown, and I noticed that you've been really trying to give me more feedback to stop CCing you on so many emails because it bogs down your inbox. Well, one of the reasons why I'm CCing you on so many emails is because I don't have the title to show that I have the authority to request certain information. And based on that, I have to CC you so that people can understand that I have the authority to request that information. So with a title change, people will understand that I have the authority. I won't have to CC you on so many emails. The other thing is, You mentioned when I had to work from home, how much work I got done, and I recognized how much work I was able to get done as well without people coming to my cubicle and meetings, etc. So I like to propose one work from home day per pay period. And of course, with the title change, I like to be compensated for the title and the work that I'll be doing with that. That's commensurate with the title. So I presented it in a package, and research also shows that when you go in and you present things in a package versus waiting for an answer for one thing, waiting for a yes or no, and then asking for something else, waiting for a yes or no, and then asking for something else, people get annoyed, then you seem greedy. So you want to present as many things up front in the package. That increases your chances of getting what you want. What I did in the example I just shared with you is I spoke to what's in it for the team, what's in it for the organization. One, for my supervisor, her email box wouldn't be clogged because I would stop CCing on her. That would entail help me do more work. Working from home, one day a pay period would also increase my productivity. And then the pay was just commensurate with the title change. At that time, I didn't get any. That's how it goes sometimes. Sometimes you can do everything right in a negotiation and you don't get what you want in the moment. But several months later, I did receive work from home days every week. In addition to that, I received a bonus, not a raise. If you don't ask, you won't get. A lot of people think as long as I work really, really hard and I keep my head down, someone's going to recognize it. They're going to give me a promotion or a raise. And I hate to break it to you, but it just doesn't work like that. If you don't ask, you won't get. So back to once you receive the offer, you want to get everything in writing. Let's say you get it in writing, but it is still a low offer. You know what your walk away point is, and this is an offer you just kind of not accept. Be gracious. State that you knew that you can do the job really well. However, you just can't accept it because it's so far below market rate. And leave it at that. Don't go over explaining. Don't talk about your personal bills and your personal financial obligations. That's not necessary. Stick to the facts. Again, facts over feelings. So I know I shared with you a lot of information in a short amount of time. You can replay this webinar. I also would like to offer everyone who attended today's webinar, if you have any questions or you have a negotiation coming up, please email me. You will receive one complimentary negotiation strategy session with me. That's one session, okay? So today is April 10th, 2018. As long as you email me by April 12th, we can lock in something, even if it's for a future date, a month or so out, okay? You will get that one session with me. If you have any questions for today, please send me an email, reach out to me, and I will give you some additional guidance. Keep in mind, negotiation is a muscle. The more that you use it, the stronger it becomes. My contact information is on here. You also have it in your inbox. Please respond if you'd like to take advantage of that one negotiation strategy session with me, or if you have any questions. And I want to leave you with one big homework assignment, okay? Negotiation is not a battle. It's just a conversation. So call your renter's insurance or your homeowner's insurance, your car insurance, your cell phone provider, and simply ask this question to the person on the phone. Hi, I'm calling in today to see if I'm getting the best rate. And just pause and wait for them to answer. And see what they say. And let me know what they say as well. Thank you for spending time with me today. I know that your time is extremely valuable. I hope this information was helpful for you. I will also be including a negotiation checklist. It is the ultimate negotiation checklist. It's a 15-page PDF that helps you to prepare as much as possible for the negotiation so that you have a lot of information. Until next time, bye.